All right, guys. This is Lionel and Lamar. We're here to talk about Game of Thrones season 1, episode 5, called "The Wolf and the Lion." I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna talk about what was going on at Winterfell, because we see Bran talking to Maester Lewin, I believe is his name. And I just want to see what were your initial thoughts on that, and what was because there was a little bit of banter with Bran and Theon, and with Bran and the Maester. I just wanted to get into that a little bit.
What I remember about that particular scene is Bran upset. Well, here's what's happening. He's studying the different cities of both Westeros and Essos, and he's reciting the people and their official motto, and he's going through each city as the teacher is pointing them out, and he gets to one of them. I forget which one. Was it the Lannisters?
The Lannisters, yeah.
And he doesn't know what their motto is. He knows a popular saying of that family, but he is corrected, and he says that's a popular motto, but that isn't their official. Those aren't their official words. But then he says something else: duty, family, and honor, which are actually his mother's words. And his instructor, what's his name?
Maester Lewin.
He also points out that he says them in the wrong order, and that he shouldn't have said them in the wrong order because they are his mother's words. He should know them, and in fact, he does. And he was being a little snippy because he's upset because it's family, duty, honor, and he is upset because his mother has left. He wakes up from this coma, and his mother isn't there to be his mother. And I forget the name. Master what?
Maester Lewin.
Maester.
Yeah.
Maester Lewin.
Yeah.
Maester Lewin tries to explain to Bran without explaining to Bran why his mother's gone.
Mm-hmm.
She's gone because she kidnapped. Well, didn't kidnap, but she took prisoner Tyrion because she suspects he tried to kill Bran. But Maester Lewin doesn't want to divulge all of that to Bran, but he is trying to console him and let him know that his mother does still believe that family comes first, although Bran doesn't feel that way at this moment. So he's upset, and he's asking all these questions, and as Maester Lewin is trying to explain to him what's going on, he's digging into the table with this pendant. It's a bird.
I think it was a fish.
It was a fish. You're right. It was a fish. But he's just completely ignoring what Maester Lewin is saying because he's just upset about his mother not being there. Now, he also laments the fact that he's not going to be able to shoot a bow and arrow anymore, because that's what Theon is doing. He's having target practice. I don't know if it's technically or official target practice. He's just shooting a bow at a target. But he is watching Theon, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to be able to shoot a bow and arrow anymore. You need legs for that." And Maester Lewin says that device that Tyrion, he says built, but I don't know if Tyrion actually built it.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, that device is going to help you be able to ride horses or shoot a bow and arrow from a horse. And Bran gets excited about that idea, actually. And Maester Lewin also refers to the Dothraki, who their children, at a very young age, I think he mentioned the age of 4, they learn how to ride a horse and shoot a bow and arrow. Now, what Bran and Theon had a back and forth about, I don't remember.
Okay.
Honestly. I was more focused on how Bran was feeling, what he was going through, and what his rehabilitation was going to look like.
Okay, did any of that make you feel any certain way about Bran? Was it annoying or was it endearing? Was it just exposition for you?
It was just me understanding, sympathizing with how it would feel to all of a sudden awake
Mm.
after he has probably a vague memory of climbing the castle walls.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the next thing he knows, he wakes up in his bed and his mother is gone. He doesn't know what's happening and he needs some kind of consolation, and there's no one there to give it to him.
Mm.
So he is understandably having a lot of questions and needing a lot of answers about what has just transpired for however long he's been in this coma. So it didn't really give me any bad or good feelings.
So it
for
didn't
him.
come across as like a petulant child sort
No,
of thing.
no.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so after that, you kind of mentioned a little bit about why Catelyn is gone. And so I kind of want to talk about her little excursion with Tyrion and what you thought of that.
It was odd. They are riding down the West Road. Is that what he called it?
I'm not sure. Maybe.
It was a directional.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was.
But Tyrion, having been a traveled man, he recognizes where they were, and he's kind of letting Catelyn know, you can't do this. I'm a Lannister. If anybody finds out, you're all gonna die. He also offers anyone there that if they let him go, there's probably going to be a pretty hefty reward for it. And as he's explaining this, they get attacked by who? I don't know.
Mm.
But it turns out that it doesn't matter because whoever Catelyn is riding with are able to take care of everybody who's been attacking, and they all get killed. And even Tyrion, he helps out as well. At first he's bound, he's got rope tied around his wrists, and he convinces Catelyn to cut him loose. Like, if he says to her, what good am I to you dead? And once he is loose, actually, I don't know why she let him loose, because he would just run away. And that's what he contemplated doing. He looked at those horses. He's like, I need to get to that horse.
I think he kind of just took advantage of her freaking out a little bit, not knowing what was going on.
So he's eyeing this horse that's probably 500 feet away, and it's in between, or on the other side of firepower, with the rocks being thrown in that direction, and two guys fighting. And he's looking back, and he also sees that Catelyn is in imminent danger as well. So he has this moment of, oh, should I not? But he turns around and he goes to help Catelyn, and then he takes out this attacker and then like beats him in the face with his shield. And it was really funny because I didn't understand why he was so angry at this complete stranger.
Mm.
Probably because they were attacking.
Yeah, I was just
but like, I get it.
Uh-huh.
But it just looked really weird to see him just really mad, shoving this pointed shield into this guy's face over and over and over again. Like,
I mean, I think it's just like the adrenaline of like you almost got killed and you don't know what's happening. You're just defending yourself.
no, but I understand. It just looked excessive.
Yeah.
After the fourth time, I could tell, like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah.
And he hits him like 4 more times.
Yeah.
Before somebody else comes over. And this is also after everyone else has just died, so he just killed one person, like,
Yeah.
a lot. Over a big help buddy. So they then are on the road again, and Tyrion is no longer bound. He's actually riding his own horse, and they meet, or because they are headed to Catelyn's sister's place, kingdom. Before that, something interesting is said by Tyrion. He mentions that Catelyn's sister isn't right in the head. She wasn't before, and now she's even more gone.
Okay.
I didn't really understand what he was talking about.
Okay.
But I will. So they're on their way to her kingdom, and they meet like outside the walls, a few miles outside the walls of the kingdom. They meet her guard, and they're just patrolling, and they notice that they're approaching, and they don't recognize that it's Catelyn at first, but they quickly do. And they give her a little bit of lip, and she's like, this is Tyrion, he's a prisoner, and I'm going to take him to my sister. Just get out of the way. They go back and forth. Finally, they just get out of the way. Now, they get to, what's her name?
Catelyn, or no, Lysa.
Lysa.
Yeah.
They get to Lysa's kingdom, and we see her on her throne.
Nice throne too. It's pretty.
It was a tree,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah.
She's sitting on this throne, breastfeeding what looked to be a 12-year-old boy. I'm pretty sure he was at least 12. And she is spouting about how this boy is a big, strong boy.
Mm-hmm.
He's growing up very nicely, just like Aaron said he would. And if only he could see him now. And like, aren't you just a big, strong boy being breastfed? And then I realized, oh, she's crazy. And I don't know what kind of crazy, but there's something not right with
Yeah.
her. Well, Catelyn sees this. She doesn't say anything about it, but you can see it in her face that she's concerned about the mental health of whatever is going on this tree.
Mm-hmm.
Then Lysa begins to freak out because there's a Lannister in her kingdom, because she is fervently against them being alive because of what they did to Jon Aaron. And the boy, what's his name?
Robin.
Son? No, Robin.
The son that was breastfeeding?
Yeah.
His name's Robin.
Robin, he gets up, he gets all excited. He's like, rah, 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 rah. That Lannister is a little person. I want to see him fly. I don't know why he said that. I thought maybe it was because it's some kind of punishment in that land, or he just thought it would be funny that a little thing can fly through the air pretty easily. I have no idea. But he wanted to see Tyrion fly. And Catelyn's like, no, he's my prisoner, you will not harm him, blah, 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 blah. Lysa says, take him to the dungeon. Have him meet...
Mord? Something like that?
And they take him to this prison area, and it's basically a balcony with a great view. I want to go. Didn't meet anybody either.
Maybe with the key to the door you might want to go.
True. Right. And a rope to grapple down. So he's now in prison. They didn't finish that plot line. It's just a thread throughout the rest of the few seasons or few episodes.
So did you like that prison though? I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
And the reason that I liked it is because it wasn't a typical prison.
Yeah.
It was a nook that was just really high up.
Yeah.
There really wasn't any danger or even isolation unless somebody came in and either threatened to throw you off or told you to stay in the corner.
Yeah.
And also probably because he was a little person, it was much bigger for him than someone else who might have been thrown in there. So, and again, I mentioned the view. There's just a lot of greenery. There's a waterfall. It probably is very serene without, obviously, the whole prisoner part. So it works for them, I guess. I'm pretty sure what happens is people just do get fed up with it and just jump. I'm pretty sure that's why it's like that.
Okay.
But yeah, that whole scene it left something to the imagination.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm glad that, because I wasn't sure if we were gonna be introduced to this kingdom yet. So that was kind of fun that we were there already. And I liked your first impressions of Lysa and her son, because it was almost like Cersei and Jaime levels of shocking to see initially.
And yeah, it was out there. It was out there.
But yeah, so that's cool. That is Lysa and her sister. And I like that you notice Catelyn's kind of like mild concern with her sister's like mental state, because that wasn't something that I really noticed. I wasn't really sure if it was like, oh, hey Lysa, you're a little different, or if it was like, oh yeah, my same old quirky quirky adult breastfeeding sister. Like,
Oh yeah, no, she definitely was like, I'm here for another reason, but we need to talk about something. We'll get to it
It's
later.
like once he goes to bed, once you like sing him to sleep, since you're still doing that apparently, we need to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So now we're gonna go back down south to King's Landing, and we're gonna get back into that tournament that we see
Mhm.
happening at the very beginning. And I kind of wanted to talk about Robert a little bit just to open it off, because Robert just like we got a lot more of the typical characterization of Robert just being fat and jolly,
Mhm.
and just like I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit more. And like, are you seeing a different? What are you seeing from Robert right now, up to this point? Because I know that you kind of like you've noticed that he has like a little bit of depth to him that the story like tries to touch on a little
Mhm.
bit, but he's also just kind of this like person you can't take seriously. I'm wondering if that's changing.
He's in this tent getting fitted for armor. Armor that doesn't fit because he's fat. He's Santa Claus. And the reason that I say that is because he's wearing this vest type thing and his huge belly is just all exposed.
Mhm.
He's got the roundest Santa Claus belly and he has a beard. Like in 15 years it'll be white
Yeah.
and he will be Santa Claus. So Ned walks in while they're coming to the realization that the armor isn't fitting. And Ned tells him straight up, "You're too fat for that armor."
Yeah.
And they have a chuckle. And he even teases. It's another Lannister, isn't it?
That boy?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lancel is his name.
Who?
Lancel or Lancel?
Lonzo.
Yeah.
So they have this moment, and he's like, "Hey, go out and get me a breastplate expander or something." And it's not a real thing.
Yeah.
Robert made it up. But he's obviously drunk
Mhm.
and still just having fun.
Yeah.
Like, we're about to go watch this joust. My clothes don't fit. I need some more wine. It's a party.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I also see, and this carries out throughout the rest of the episode, but I see Ned looking at Robert differently.
Okay.
Even at that moment. He's like, "You're a little too self-indulgent
Yeah.
right now. I don't understand that. I've got too much going on."
Mhm.
So Robert is, he's just living it up. He's got no cares in the world. He, and we learn this later, he does have cares in the world, but he's drinking them away.
Gotcha.
He's not trying to deal with anything.
Yeah.
And he's hiding behind all this revelry
Mhm.
so that his mind doesn't wander to these deep places.
Yeah.
So, and we don't learn that until later, but I think Ned is seeing a little bit of that right now.
Okay. Yeah. And so since we were talking about the more the depth of Robert, I want to talk about that small scene with Cersei and Robert. Just because it was so short, there's no point to save it. What did you think about that, and like what the side of their relationship that was introduced in that conversation?
That was the first time they had a conversation.
Yeah.
Actually, that wasn't quippy.
Yeah. And also that was that private.
Right. So yeah, it was just the two of them talking about. They were talking about Daenerys, and how she's pregnant, and the fear that Robert has that once this baby is born, the Dothraki are gonna come over. What's it called? That river?
The Narrow Sea.
The Narrow Sea, and invade the kingdom.
Westeros. I know I saw you trying to say it. I figured I'd just help you.
Fair enough. And Cersei is kind of trying to console Robert. I don't know what she's trying to do, but they presented it as consolation to Robert. This is this is Westeros. We've got all these armies. We are a superior fighting force. Even if they do come over here, we outnumber them, and it shouldn't even be a big deal.
Yeah.
But Robert counters with, and he tricks her. Tricked me too. I kind of figured where he was going.
Yeah.
But he asked, what number is higher, 1 or 5? Cersei says 5 because that's the obvious number. But what he was getting at is the Dothraki are one solid army.
Mm-hmm.
And Westeros has a number of armies who all fight differently, fight for someone who is different, and they're not united.
Yeah.
So them trying to win this war against this one army isn't going to go well. So he's running through his head how this battle would go.
Yeah.
And he even throws out the idea of being protected and isolated in their own castle while the other armies are fighting the Dothraki. And he plays that out through his head, and he's like, you know what? If we are absent from this conflict, our people are probably going to think they don't care about us.
Yeah.
And the Dothraki, they've come in, they've kind of put into motion some kind of law and order, and it's probably going to work out okay if we just don't fight it.
Yeah.
And they'll lose. Robert will lose that kingdom. And then they start talking about this Stark. What's her name? Lyanna. Cersei says, without mentioning her name, do you miss her?
Something to that effect.
And Robert says, "What? We've never talked about her.
Yeah.
Why are you bringing this up right now?" And she says, "At first I did it out of spite. I figured that if I didn't talk about her, you would never think about her, or you wouldn't have a reason to think about her. But it didn't work because you didn't even notice that I wasn't talking about her, or you enjoyed that I let you have that." But he says to Cersei, honestly, I don't even know what she looks like anymore. But he still has this deep emotional connection, this deep emotional feeling toward her. And that memory, that physical memory, that concrete memory of her is fading, but the feeling is still there.
Yeah.
It's eating at him.
Yeah.
And
Seven Kingdoms couldn't
fill the hole that she's left because she was taken from him. Again, we don't know by who. Or did they say that?
They have said, but if you don't remember, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I've been confused about that this entire time.
Yeah.
So then they joke about, what if the kingdom really fell? All the different factions of Westeros are essentially chickens with their heads cut off. They don't really know what's going on. We're not following one straight line. How are we even keeping this all together? And Cersei makes a joke, our marriage is holding this all together. And apparently that was funny.
Which I actually thought was hilarious.
I
Even the first time I watched it, it was funny. I don't know, to me, it was just the irony of, their marriage is the most, shallow, brittle, ridiculous thing in that kingdom. So, that was what I thought of it.
And
to say that their marriage has some kind of strength that could, hold a whole kingdom together when it's, a complete joke. That's why I thought it was funny.
That's what I thought they were getting at. But I thought it was more than that.
Gotcha, okay.
And I was trying to think about what else it could be.
Okay.
Besides it just being a joke of a marriage.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because even during that scene, I think there are 2 or 3 things in there that I heard and didn't register. I was still trying to process what they were talking about. So when she said that, I was thinking about something else.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, the first time we see Cersei and Robert have an actual conversation, it was very interesting. Oh, it also sheds light on how she's raising Joffrey.
Oh, okay.
she mentions that they lost their first son.
Mm-hmm.
So the first person, child, man of that family
Mm-hmm.
who would ascend the throne was lost.
Yeah.
Cersei has been given a second chance,
Okay.
and she doesn't want to mess it up
With Joffrey.
with Joffrey.
Okay.
So now I kind of understand a little bit more about why she's so rigid.
So is this the first time you're understanding that she lost the child?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. She's mentioned that a
Oh,
couple
gotcha.
times already.
So yeah, if it's been mentioned before, I didn't register it,
Oh, okay.
and I probably would have.
She
thought
tells
differently.
Catelyn about it after Bran
You're
falls out
right.
the window.
You're right. I do remember that now, and I don't know why that connection just.
I mean,
just
it
made
makes. I mean, that was like the very first episode, or like the second episode. So you didn't really know who everyone was in relation to each other yet.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
So yeah, now I understand, or I would have understood, but I understand now her drive
Yeah.
for Joffrey
Okay.
and his success to the throne. It makes a little bit more sense now.
Did seeing that conversation endear you to Cersei at all? Because to me, like watching it, I was like, oh, okay, I kind of see. Like you were just saying, you saw her side of the story a little bit more. Did it humanize her and make her seem less like evil or
it
whatever?
Did, but only because it did at this moment. Only because I didn't understand it in that first episode.
Well, like not even the stuff about the unborn child, but just like seeing how human she was talking about Robert and his past love, and just like it kind of just showed her as more of a person instead of this like vindictive person, you know?
It showed her less of a vindictive person, but it still didn't, for me anyway, give her any human characteristics.
Oh, okay.
Because she mentions that when Robert says, I don't even know what she looks like anymore.
Yeah.
And he says to her, does that make you feel better?
Yeah.
And she says, I don't feel anything.
Yeah.
About that situation. But you can also see in her face, she didn't really care.
Yeah.
She was just, it didn't really seem like she was actually trying to talk to Robert to console him.
Gotcha.
That's what they were presenting to us.
Yeah.
But from a character standpoint, I'm not sure what she was getting at.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure what she was doing. Maybe she's just passing the time. Or maybe that's just how she talks to Robert.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
So, no, it didn't give me any more negative feelings toward her, but there were also no positive feelings.
I see.
It was neutral.
I think when I first saw that scene, I kind of thought to myself, like, because she describes how she once felt something for Robert, like that she didn't go into this thinking like, oh, I'm stuck with you or anything like that. And so I thought that was interesting because, like, to me, it showed more of a progression of like her slowly becoming this callous person after having been stuck in this loveless relationship, as opposed to her just always being this like evil, mean person. You know,
So,
that was kind of the impression that I got from that conversation.
It does then, to your point, illustrate how both of them understand where they are in their marriage.
Okay.
And what their marriage actually is now.
Yeah.
It's not based on love or respect or anything. They are just in this situation. He has to rule the kingdom. She has to be the queen. And there's Joffrey.
Yeah.
So those three individual things are just under one roof.
Yeah.
And they understand that.
That's all. It's like it's transactional.
Right.
Okay, I feel you. Okay, so then I want to talk a little bit about Ned and that small council meeting that was going on with Robert, where he finds out that Daenerys is pregnant, and that causes some stir with him. And I just wanted to see like what your thoughts on Ned's, just like Ned's reaction to that whole thing.
Robert commands Ned to basically assassinate Daenerys and her unborn child because he wants no part of this Dothraki army coming after him. And Ned, being the nobleman that he is, like, Robert, no. I'm not about to murder this girl. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
He says, you know, I've known you for a long time. we grew up together,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never seen this side of you.
Yeah.
I've never known this part of you. I can't deal with you anymore.
Yeah.
And Robert says, I'm the king. You're the king's hand. I tell you to do something, you go do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how this works.
Yeah.
And Robert basically quits. He's like, Ned.
Yeah.
Ned says he takes the pendant off of his vest. He's like, he throws it down. Like, I just won't be the hand anymore. Find somebody else to do it, and whoever that man is, good luck to him. And Robert, he gets even more upset because his hand, his best friend essentially,
Mm-hmm.
has basically turned his back on him. And he wants him out of the castle now, and even threatens to cut his head off for treason. But Ned, he leaves. He wants no part of this murder conspiracy. Robert is freaking out that this invasion is imminent. And he actually mentions Viserys, which is odd. Because I'm not sure how he got that detail. Oh, because he probably understands that Viserys would want the throne back.
Yeah.
Because it was taken from him.
Yeah.
So yeah, he says, if Viserys comes back here with that Dothraki army, it's going to be game over for us, basically. But again, Robert, Ned wants no part of it. So he leaves. But it also seems as though everyone else in that room is down with it.
Yeah.
And the eunuch, what's his name?
Varys.
Varys. Is he playing for both sides?
Why do you think that?
Because later, when we see Arya chasing that cat down into the dungeon, he's talking to someone else.
Okay.
About the murder attempt on Bran.
Mm-hmm.
And how Ned's death can't be as swift as they wanted it to be. They'll have to, be more careful and think this through. But at the same time, he's in Robert's ear saying, you need to protect this kingdom from Viserys and this army. So what is he's just very sketchy to me at this point. Maybe I missed something in there.
Sketchier than the Littlefinger?
No.
Or...
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm sorry. Yes.
Oh, yeah, sketchier than Littlefinger. Yeah. Okay.
Littlefinger, as a character, seems to be on Ned's side.
Okay.
I believe he's on, and I think the show is trying to paint him as someone who would backstab Ned, just so he could get at Catelyn.
Okay.
And I understand that, and I understand that those feelings might exist, but his actions thus far don't really show that.
Okay.
Every conversation he's had, whether it was with the eunuch or if it's with Ned, he's always trying to provide information to Ned about what's going on. He's got eyes everywhere, and this is something that we didn't talk about in the last episode, but as Ned was investigating Jon Arryn's death, he's walking through the courtyard with Ned, and he tells him, there are people watching everywhere, and he points out some of the people, and he points out one person in particular and says, that's my person.
Mm-hmm.
I've also got people watching the people watching you.
Yeah.
So he's got eyes everywhere, trying to make sure that Ned isn't blindsided by anything. So no, I don't believe he's sneakier or sketchier than Varys.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the two new characters we were introduced to, Renly and Loras.
Mm-hmm.
So did you know who they were? Did you piece that together at all?
No, not at
okay. All. What did you gather from them?
I don't even know what to make of them. So there's the blonde one and then the brunette.
Yeah.
What are the names?
Renly is the brunette.
Mm-hmm.
Loras is the blonde one.
Okay. Wasn't
Loras?
Loras and
Renly.
Yeah. Renly is fourth in line for something.
Okay.
And Loras
is
trying to convince him that he's ready to be king. and Brinley,
Renly.
Renly
Yeah.
was like, no, I've never been to war, never fought in a battle. Um, I'm not suited for being a king. And Loris
Hmm.
is talking him up. And he's trying to tell him, that he's the perfect fit for being a king because he's got all these other qualities. And the reason that was weird to me is the scene. He's sitting in a chair. Renly is getting his chest shaven. I'm like, what? I can't take you seriously. Like, maybe if I hadn't seen it, maybe if you just have a bare chest, fine. But I'm watching you getting your chest shaven. No, I don't take you seriously as a king. Go sit down somewhere. I'm gonna punch you in the face. I wanted to punch him in the face. It was also mentioned that he faints at the sight of blood. So Loris
Hmm.
stabs him or slices him with a razor, and he says, "Look at that. It's blood. As king, you'll see a lot of it." And he says that, or he does that, because he suggests that he may have to kill someone who is third, second, or first in line so that he can become king. And Loris is making the point that, you'll have to do some things that you may not want to do, but your people will understand that you did it. But he illustrates that point by cutting him in the chest and saying, "Look at the blood. Everybody has it. It's a thing." I didn't understand how those two things
Well, I think
connected.
that was more of what him. I think that was more of what Loris was kind of getting to the point of what you were saying is like he needs to stop being squeamish and stuff in general, and that's like part of why people don't take him seriously because he's not like this. Well, not really, but like that he can't handle like very small
Mm-hmm.
things like just a little cut on that chest or whatever, and how he was telling him like you have these great qualities that can be king, but you are letting these like little tiny things like block you from that potential, I
Right.
guess.
For me, I guess it was too close to his next point about how the people will follow you.
Gotcha.
I thought the show was trying to present a cause and effect relationship there that I just didn't connect in my head. And maybe those two were just separate points being made back to back, but they blended together as I was watching it.
Okay. And so you said how you felt about Renly. How did you feel about Loris then?
Uh, he's from some high family too.
Yeah, they made a point about how his family is richer than uh, Renly's,
Right. Um,
but not quite as rich as the Lannisters.
right. Other than that, I don't necessarily care about what he was talking about. Um, it just seems that they were brought up so suddenly to all of a sudden be scheming about something.
Yeah.
And again, as I mentioned in the last one, this is like 14 plot lines now that I have to keep up with. And that we'll see them again, I'm sure, and I'll catch up with them. But for right now, I just know that they're two weird looking people who want to do something.
Gotcha.
Oh, I will say that they put on this scheme to beat to win that joust.
Oh yeah, I noticed you say something about that. What happened? 'Cause that's something that I even missed when I first watched it.
So, as the two jousters are preparing, they start both of the horses on or both of the knights on their horses start at the same point on either side of the row, and as the knight with the black horse approaches Loris's
Mhm.
horse, it begins to freak out as if there was a smell or a chemical on Loris's horse
Mhm.
that he just doesn't understand what it is.
Gotcha.
And you could see as he gets really close to they get really close to each other, and he starts huffing, he starts stomping his hooves. Horses have hooves, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So the horse is not right.
Mhm.
And because there is zero way that the knight with the black horse should lose that joust to
Yeah.
this 90-pound man. It shouldn't happen. So as they are coming at each other, the horse is still freaking out. Like, you can tell there's something not right about this horse.
Mhm.
And I saw the beginning of that at the beginning of that line where they got together and it just freaked out for no reason. There's no reason for that horse,
Yeah.
having been in so many jousts, to freak out like that.
Okay.
But at the same time, once and the knight on the black horse, which is somebody's brother with the burnt face.
Yeah.
Don't know their names. But after he loses that joust, because he does, he decapitates his horse, like a mercy killing or something, or honor killing.
Yeah.
Or he was just frustrated. I don't know how many horses he's gone through. And then he goes after Loris. But his brother comes in to defend Loris. And this also goes back to the last episode. Littlefinger tells a story to Sansa about those two boys growing up. And one of them had this toy, or it was a rock, I don't know, a frog, that the other was playing with, and the older boy wanted it. And the younger boy wouldn't give it to him. So he snatched it away and then put his face into the fire that was sitting right next to them and just burned the whole side of his face. And in that previous episode, you could see the resentment still in his half face toward his brother. Well, that spilled over into this episode when they get into a scuffle. And finally, Robert stops it. He's like, this is all chicanery. I need y'all to just cut it out. This is supposed to be a friendly joust. There's a horse with no head. You're trying to kill this man boy, and I just need y'all to stop. So he runs away, and the knight with the black horse, he just leaves. And Loris thanks the other brother, and the crowd cheers. So all of that to say this, Loris and Renly are just some schemers.
Gotcha.
Basically.
Okay. Because I wanted to talk about that conversation. Did that conversation remind you of Cersei talking to Joffrey?
What conversation?
The conversation between Loris and Renly.
No.
Oh, okay.
The reason that it didn't is because I have zero investment in these two people.
Gotcha.
I don't know who they are or what they were doing. I understand who Cersei is. She's a queen.
Yeah.
I understand that Joffrey is a prince and he's being groomed to be king. I understand that.
Yeah.
But I don't understand what they're doing.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Let's see. Okay. Any thoughts? Any final overarching thoughts about the episode?
We mentioned this as the episode was ending. It felt short. It was 54 minutes. The last one was 56, I think. And for the most part, they're all in that range, 54 to 58 minutes long. But this one felt a lot shorter. It felt like there was a lot less going on in previous episodes. But I think it was because we revisited so few places. There was still a lot to learn. A lot was said during the episode. And I'm still processing a lot of it. But it created a lot of other branches that the story is going to expound upon. And I need them to do that.
Oh, okay. Expound upon these things they're introducing.
Yeah.
All right. So, are you appreciating the fact that the show is slowly giving you these extra characters instead, or is it too fast? Do you think?
No, I think it's fine. I think the pace is okay. I think that having them be introduced and we're not being overwhelmed with them.
Yeah.
Like, they're on screen, they're given some motivation, they're given some backstory, They're giving some history, and then that's it. It's just an introduction, and we'll later learn more about what it is they actually want, what they're doing, where they come from, and things like that. But if, for example, Loris and Renly had 10 more minutes of screen time and we went back to where they lived and we met their families, that would probably be too much. But I think we got a good amount of these new characters. As far as
Lysa, yes.
Lysa and her son Robin.
Now, yes. Now, does like getting to know Lysa and Robin, for example, does the investment in them, is that increased by the fact that she's Catelyn's sister? Like, do the family ties help you keep up with?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It also helped that Catelyn went there specifically to deal with Tyrion, which is a carryover from the previous episode.
Okay.
So all that's tying together.
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, and because I think, as we get further in and the implicate or like the ramifications of certain actions start to play out more, even though there's so many characters, they'll all seem like they're all are going to be entangled in the same web, and it'll all make sense. Right. So so that was episode 5. Thank you guys for joining us again. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next week.